Hi, my name is Katie Charda, and this is my session 3 discussion. And I chose to discuss what each position says about what is our highest goal or our highest ethical goal, which human life should aim. So, the utilitarian highest ethical goal is what brings the most good and the least suffering to people. So basically, utilitarians say what's beneficial to most, and their highest goal is what brings the most good, the most joy, and the least suffering. And what I chose to do was go through each of these and choose a Bible verse that I felt fit with them. And the verse I felt fit with this one was Philippians 2:4, which says, "Not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interests of the other." And the reason I felt this fit was because we're supposed to biblically look after the interests of everyone and the good of everyone, the good of most. And I felt that this fit quite well with the utilitarian position for the highest ethical goal. The next position that I chose to look at was the Kantian position. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but they state that the highest ethical goal towards which a human life should aim would be what is right or wrong depends on the outcome. So the definition of ethics to them is duty. It's what we are ethically bound to do, what is our duty to do, and it depends on the outcome of the things are. So if what we're doing is going to produce a bad outcome, then it's morally wrong or ethically wrong. And if what we're doing is going to produce a good outcome, then it's morally correct or morally good. So their highest ethical goal would be doing what's morally correct that would result in a good outcome. And the Bible verse that I chose to go with this was John 15:12. "My command is this: love each other as I have loved you." So I really love this verse for this philosophy because it's all about, it's a commandment. He commands us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And it's all about being our duty. This is our duty to do this. The Lord has given us this duty. And so I felt that really fit well with the philosophy that goes behind this. So the next position is the Greek or virtue position. And this basically says that the highest moral goal is having a good moral character, and your intentions are what matters. What matters is your intent behind doing things, not necessarily the outcome, and that's where they differ with the Kantian philosophy. They believe that a good moral character and your intent is what should drive your ethical behavior. And if you're doing that, then that's the highest that you can strive for. And what I chose for the Bible verse that goes with this is 1 John 17 through 18. Oh, I'm sorry, 3:17 through 18. "If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." So I really like this verse and thought it fit well with this position because it just tells us that we need to have a good intent and a good heart behind our actions and need to really put the needs of others before ourselves, and that's the highest ethical goal. So those are the three highest ethical goals according to the three different positions. And the next discussion topic that I chose was, what is the link between psychology and theology? I think that the link between psychology and theology is two different things. I think, first of all, theology and psychology are linked because ethics provide a framework within our psychological practice. We need to practice within a certain framework of ethics. That's why we have the American Counseling Association Code of Ethics. We have we have all these different governing guidelines that let us know how we're supposed to behave ethically. And ethics don't just come out of nowhere. They come from theology, if you really think about it. Theology and the Bible provides us with a good and perfect truth of what we are supposed to do ethically. And the 3 verses that I just read before just provide a small example of what God wants us to do and how he wants us to behave ethically. So ethics is a framework from which we're supposed to practice, and theology is the base, in my belief, to that framework. The other factor that I found was that psychology and the diagnostic criteria we use to employ ethics to determine what is right and wrong. So psychology and the diagnostic manual have a set of criteria that says what is right and what is wrong. And we can't determine what is right and what is wrong without taking a look back at theology, because anything could be right and anything could be wrong. And if you don't have any basis for that, then who's to know what is right and what is wrong? Browning and Cooper had a really good quote that I thought fit good with this. They stated, many psychological views of the healthy personality are not stated in morally neutral terms. They are, in fact, subtle statements about the nature of good or of the good or virtuous person in the moral sense of the word good. And that's from Browning and Cooper, 2004. What this says to us is that our view of a healthy person as a psychologist isn't random. It isn't based on nothing. It's based on our own statement of ethics and our own statement of morality. And as I said before, our own statement of ethics, especially as Christian counselors, are those things that are stated within the Bible, and they come from theology. So I decided to take a look at a few different examples, or give a few different examples of how ethics and theology and psychology would link together. The first that I thought of was that we need to be careful of our intentions as counselors and mindful of the outcome when we're diagnosing people. Diagnostic criteria is very clear, and a diagnosis for many people is very impactful. For almost all people, it's very impactful, and it's going to affect their lives. So we need to make sure as clinicians and as counselors that we're really taking this seriously, and we are doing this for the correct and most ethical reasons to do that, and that is to get the person healthy, to provide a framework for future counseling and things like that. The other example that I thought of was that we must not use our position of power to influence our clients in an ethical way. And while none of us would do this intentionally, I'm sure, it could become that because we are in a position of power and because we are seen as someone who is an authority figure, that intentional or not, our actions can influence our clients, and we need to really make sure that we have a correct theological and ethical background so that we ensure that we don't influence them in a poor way. The third example I thought of was that we must be cognizant of our intentions behind our interventions, and we need to make sure that we're leading the client for the right reason. We want to make sure that we're not projecting onto them, and we want to make sure that we're not being triggered by something about them, what they're saying about them themselves, or the situation. This really requires a lot of self-reflection as a counselor, but we need to make sure that that we're ethically within the guidelines, that we're not doing those things. And again, all these ethics and all these guidelines, in my belief, are being influenced by theology, because it's the base of ethics. The Bible is the base of ethics and the base of good and moral behavior. So it just occurs to me that it's almost impossible to find what is good and what is normal without discussing it from a theological perspective. And it's necessary as clinicians and as psychologists for us to define what is good and normal so that we can diagnose and treat people. So we can't really have one without the other. You can't discuss what's good and normal without coming at it from a theological perspective, and you can't not define what's good and normal if you are to diagnose and treat someone as a clinical psychologist. So those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed them, and I really look forward to hearing everyone else's. Thank you.